Okay, thank you very much. So, I'm afraid I have this PowerPoint. It came from Lisbon. It was supposed to be able to edit it, but when I edit it, it breaks down. So, I'll run through some early work we've done very quickly about land vineyards, the project. I think I showed to some people here, so I won't bother you too much about it. But it was a project that we developed some time ago, and it's basically it's a vineyard project on a 50-hectare site where we on the outskirts of Lisbon, about 180 kilometers outside of Lisbon, and near a beautiful castle, where you see here the site and next to it the property. We invited a series of architects to work with us. So we designed the clubhouse and some villas, and then we invited a series of people. I think Such and Bates, which are here, they are now at the GSD lecturing this year. And then there was Peter Merkley, there was Carreiro da Graça, and José Paulo dos Santos. So basically, you see, it's a valley with 8 hectares of vineyard, and then we established this concept of clusters. So each cluster, each architect had a possibility of working on it as he pleased, as long as he kept a certain perimeter. So there was a lot of freedom for each individual, although there was a kind of connecting idea of urbanism, or like occupation, site occupation. So we also designed the clubhouse based on this idea that we were just discussing about what is a vineyard, a winery building. So it's more like a clubhouse where you combine these functions of industrial function of the wine producing with all the other activities and the spa and the restaurant. Now it's a nice restaurant there. It's a 1-star Michelin. So they're very happy about it. So there's a kind of recreational lake also to reduce a little bit the heat and the dryness of the land. And basically the building runs from this point where you can kind of cut some pieces out of it and have it encrusted in the land. At the same time, it's kind of raising up on the forms of patios. There's kind of 4 patios around it. So these are some views from the inside. I don't want to drag you too much onto this. And then, of course, we had this, because at one point the client said, you know, the hotel, I didn't have a contract for a hotel. They said, yeah, it's a hotel. So these townhouses, they became adjacent to the property, they became kind of a hotel space. So we had to redesign them as a hotel. Fees didn't change though. But so they are kind of encrusted in the land, and they create this kind of structure where we hope that it grows some vines and it becomes sort of hidden on the site. These are very interior design oriented images. This other project I think we may not have seen is this is a development from the 1970s, 60s. Actually started on the 1950s, but it was looking at Acapulco as a kind of the ideal of tourism at the time. And it's a stretch of 50 kilometers of beautiful sand beach outside of Lisbon, and where during the last days of the dictatorship of Salazar, actually already Marcel Caetano, the last dictator, the vision was to make a super master plan for a kind of city of tourism. You see here, for instance, in this master plan, there's a hotel with 1,001 rooms. So and there's a racetrack, and all these kind of things. And there's some Roman ruins here, but they wouldn't mind opening up here in these sandbanks and create a marina and stuff like that. So, and then the materialization of this, of course, it was pure architecture. So this is like a James Sterling project, you know. It was like, it was not residential, it was housing. And there was no feel of tourism about it. But I like it. I mean, I think, you know, I don't think many people like it. Michael Kubo would like it. I'm not sure that the tourists like it. And then there was this carcass, which because this whole operation went bankrupt, and we had the revolution in '74, so it was sitting there, this structure abandoned in a beach for like 25 years until it was bought, and we were invited to design change it into I mean, this was a concrete cast, so basically to make a hotel of it. It was already the structure of a hotel, and to make a casino and a convention center, etc. So, and there was an opportunity to create a kind of a nice pier and so forth. And so you see here more or less the diagram of the building. It's composed like out of 3 blocks. The original block is this one here, kind of really rough, brutalist design with an atrium space. And then we added these the convention casino, and on the other side a convention center and a theater. And we had to create a new face because the place was completely stigmatized because it went bankrupt, and then there were they fired like 1,500 people that were working there, so it was a kind of really rough place. So it needed a change. So we decided, to kind of create a kind of metaphorical facade that would, recreate an impact, a positive impact in the whole place, without changing the architecture. Because, as I said, I think there's merit in this kind of brutalist design approach. So here you see the kind of generic plan of how the building is. This is the casino. No plans. They don't show you the plans because you don't want to know where the money is and the coins or whatever they exchange there. And here is the new addition that we created to this design. So here it is under construction, and we are adding it. And then you see this addition, this kind of a curved, sexy shape onto this building. So to create a kind of a new and spectacularized feeling somehow. And this and the rest of the building, we kept it because we thought that the contrast would be really nice, would work, and we wanted to maintain the spirit of this Conceição Silva architect, which was a great guy. This is one of the rooms. I show you the rooms because today in the reviews there was talk about rooms and about the importance of the guest room in a hotel. And guest rooms are really the quintessential element of hotel business and hospitality. Actually, I have this idea I want to bring with you to you that we have been trying to get into interior design because I think for us as architects, interior design is something that was stolen from us. So nowadays, if you are an architect, you're doing a hotel, someone will say, actually, they're saying now, I have a client who's saying that you do core and shell. So we have been robbed of, all the history of architecture is made of interiors and beautiful stuff, and suddenly architects they can go up to the atrium and then it stops. And then somebody else will come in and will be interior designer and will do the rest. And we want to try to evade that. We want to be also doing the interior design. So we try to go and to understand how it works. And this is the convention center of the hotel. They have all these shapes, etc. And this is the casino. It was fun to do a casino, actually. It's a kind of a magical, kind of schizophrenic space. We created this kind of bubbles, this kind of world images where you have this thing turns and you get the singer on the stage, and then there's a bar below. So this is kind of something that wouldn't be the normal project that you would find in our office. So it pushes you outside. Also, another hotel I'll show you. This is in Lisbon. It's an 18th century palace, which basically very little remained of it, as you can see. This is Pombalin building, but it's been abandoned. It was a factory. But we managed to salvage the facade and to renovate it and excavate very deep into this very, very tiny area and create a kind of a spine that works as a lobby and that distributes around the building. So basically we have this very thin lobby that culminates in a stair, a kind of promenade, and also we designed it as a kind of an informal space, some aspects of the interiors. one of you at the reviews was showing the project of something that was full of something that was covered with fabric, and this is one of the meeting rooms where we were doing just very much like that. Again, the bedroom unit as a kind of, the quintessential space, and how do you, now you have to negotiate in terms of interiors, you have to negotiate 10 centimeters, 20 centimeters, really tiny spaces. Can you put the sanitary area this or that? And because it's, the business of hospitality has become so thin, so difficult. This is a completely different project, and I also want to bring you into this idea that also in our profession we have created an additional split to this interior design, which is in the very profession where you get commercial architecture and civic or civil or whatever you call it architecture. So basically you separate, and some guys do museums and university buildings, and there's some people that do these indescriptive shopping centers and stuff like that, and whatever, residential housing, whatever. And again, I think that we need to come back to this, and because architects have always done commercial projects, commercial in the good sense. I mean, you look at, in the history of the US, you have like Victor Gruen and all these guys, and we're doing fantastic jobs. So we have to bring that to ourselves. Also, commercial projects are just like any other project. Actually, in our office, sometimes it starts so that you start there comes a project and it's like a 5-star project. Oh, it's an aquarium. Oh, it's this, and then it turns out to be, really problem project. And then there's some kind of a stupid mall that nobody wants to do, and it turns out because the client is fantastic, you can do a great project. So it's always like a little box of surprises, the project and the program. This is a shopping center in I think it's got to be the ugliest city in Portugal, but it's up there in the, you know what I'm talking about. Sorry. But in any case, I mean, I hope we haven't contributed to make it even worse. But but in any case, this is in it's again an interesting phenomena, because shopping centers, they have brought people out of the city centers, and as we came more and more outside the urban areas, now there's a kind of a move to aggregate smaller shopping centers or community malls or whatever you call it, that bring people to the center, because the shops in the center have disappeared somehow. They're no longer viable shops. So this was our opportunity to create a mall, a little mall, in this kind of really uphill part of the city of Guarda, and this interland city in Portugal. We were interested in this idea because it's a kind of the terrain is like almost like a kind of bedrock of layers of stone. So this is the spot. So where we had this opportunity to build this very strange, it's a very thin building, and so we imagine how it could be like layers of strata of construction. So I'm sorry, these slides are all messed up. So this is the site, but you'll figure it out. So here you see the interesting part about this long community mall project is that it works like also like an elevator for people to come up the city. So these are all the plans of the building, but you see it kind of splits between the modern quarter and the medieval quarter, and it offers people the possibility of, through a system of escalators, go up to the medieval part of the city. And it also progresses a little bit like this kind of kaleidoscopic structure. So in order to create this effect of kind of layers, we used precast concrete. This is the idea a little bit of this quarry where you have all these elements, and we created this building with this kind of moving pieces. And this is the inside the building, this somewhat kaleidoscopic shape. Here you see the building from below. They're very striking views of the building. It's kind of, you will wonder what the scale of the building, how it works. It does. Well, Now I'll show you something completely different again. It's one of those star projects. It's an aquarium. And it's a nice project. It's sort of, it's a little baby that we got. It was a candidate to the Mies Prize. It was a very nice design. It was very, ecological, whatnot. Basically, the idea is to create a kind of a barn shape. And inside this kind of shaded barn, we can put the program, which typically in an aquarium, this is a river aquarium, so it's specific to the river theme. I won't go too much into the program, but as you enter, you have this kind of possibility to go through this passageway and come inside again, and it's a kind of a process where you pass through and you exit. The fun thing is that this is a kind of a shell, and inside you have these boxes that are more or less organized in their own way. And then we built on a system of precast, very thin blade-like elements, amazingly fast, and they create this presence in the landscape. And then they're tied by a ring beam, a very thin ring beam. And this is how you go out into a small lake where you also have the exhibition of different kinds of fish outside. This is a little patio house we just completed. I think these photographs are less than a couple of weeks. It's a patio house that's strong tradition in Portugal of patios. And basically you have here the plans is that around this patio we enclustered a series of rooms. This is obviously one of those, they're very expensive houses. They're very posh now. This area is this Comporta. This is that area where all these millionaires build these houses, and they pretend to be poor for a while. And this is the little houses, so you see it's kind of surrounded by a patio, and they're all enclustered like they were a kind of agglomeration of kind of a village-like. These are photographs. These are not renderings. These are photographs from the site. The sky was, just very beautiful because there's no pollution there at all. So you get this feel. And basically the house works on this idea of kind of intersection between, this is the patio inside, of course, and you can see through very long shots between the various elements. Then there are some nice tectonic details, that you can do when clients don't question. So these are solid stones. So basically they are, like this, and like 1 meter higher than me, and brought into place. So some nice details that you can do. So this is a completely different project. It's a kindergarten. And it started, the whole concept of this thing, it started from this principle of the honeycomb structure, and because we wanted to maintain some of the trees, and somehow the shape started to suggest this idea of the honeycomb. Then there is also this kind of idea that all across, the second half of the century, the idea of the honeycomb as the school for the kids, the idea that you're not in a kind of a orthogonal space, so you're kind of a more fluid space that you can work on, and so we came up with this idea of creating this honeycomb structure that is going through the topography of this little site, and we try to separate between the brick and the structure a little bit Smithson's kind of feel, and using the brick as it changes the layers and creating these kind of variations and so forth. And it's a small project that it's been really a nice project to work on. This project, I want to tell, is really special because we've been going on back and forth to Angola for about 7 years. And every time we go there, we always meet with some generals or some vice minister for something, and then people come back to us and say, you know, you don't know the right people. I don't know anymore who I should know there. But, and coming back and forth, and, you know, nothing happened for a long time. And then we did this project, complete, construction documents, everything, and shipped it to Lubango, which is a kind of interland city in the middle of nowhere, actually. It's a kind of, it's 100,000 people there, living there. And it's a mixed-use project, basically. It's a little building with apartments, duplex apartments, offices, small offices, and some shops. And, you know, so this is the feel of Lubango, and there's the building. And this gives me really great hope for Africa, in a way, because many of the projects you see, you know, there's kind of social projects, or either this kind of super wealthy ghetto kind millionaires living in these spaces. And I guess this is the first time, at least for me, that I can see the possibility to design a normal building. You know, that you would find, actually, you find this in, you know, in any street. Of course, they wouldn't have football and this kind of atmosphere in the streets, but it's a nice, simple project that we designed, and it was accomplished, you know, with great rigor, with great perfection. And it's out there in the middle of this small city. You see the detailing, for instance, of the corners and everything. These are the great spaces where we hide the HVC and make the ventilation. The frames are painted wood. They're not even aluminum, so they're kind of a nice rendering material. It's a nice brick. The brick was brought there from Portugal. It's the heaviest part. But and the project was, you know, carefully accomplished and everything. Oh, what happened? Now I think it's dead. So I think we missed some images, but it doesn't matter. So this is a project for me that gives me really great hope for Africa, for what, you know, we keep on looking at things that are kind of rescue missions and kind of SOS projects, and this is a nice, simple building, you know, so it's, you know, it's there. This guy staring at it, you know. So I go to another project. It's a competition we lost. We are in kind of, we are in mourning in Promontorio, because this was a competition for a hotel in Zurich, won by our dear friend Sasha Begovic of 3LHD, and it was an international competition with 8 architecture offices to design the interior design for Miley Peter architects. Because the client realized, no, I don't know if he realized, he said to Miley Peter that they didn't know how to do inside of a hotel. You know, they were not doing the interior design. So they said that we should be part of this. So there was Patricio Urquiola, there was Marcio Kogan from São Paulo, there was some guys from Paris, from Milan, you know, from New York. And it was to design, to make the interiors of this hotel that will come. The Dolder in Zurich is, it brought another definition to me what is the price of a hotel. Because the Dolder Grand was designed by Norman Foster, there up in the hill, overlooking Lake Zurich, and it cost 440 million euros. So that's something like $500 million. I didn't know it existed, that kind of money for a hotel. And this one is a much modest project, is 97 rooms and 27 apartments, and it should cost no more than 130 million euros. So all these numbers and all these Swiss, it's a different galaxy. So basically, for us it was a challenge, and again I bring you this idea that really I think schools should work more on the interior design part, because it's really interesting for us to. And we try to partake the spirit of Miley Peter, and I think that's why we went to the last run with Sasha, and basically, I mean, I don't want to, you know, go through because it's a long process. Basically, the hotel is the idea of this project is to create various layers of warm feeling around you as it serpentines the building, and you know, to open the views to Lake Zurich. The idea, our concept was to create a club, because we said that, you know, the idea of club is a friendly idea. It's a place where you return. And 4-star hotels have to have this kind of feeling that you can go there and you stay and come back and forth. So it should have a warm feeling. So, and basically we are using all these fantastic materials like Italian terrazzo, leather, bronze, brass, pedra giallo, very expensive light fixtures, everything. But it's interesting how hard in the end you can work on a project like this. And you think it's just a hotel. This is the ceiling for the restaurant and the way it's set out. This is a kind of a petit homage to Le Corbusier, and this is a petit homage to Marcel Breuer and his Whitney, and it's also a kind of a nice acoustic ceiling and creating this kind of warm feeling. And then there is the spa, and we worked terribly on this spa for ages. Basically, we were fusing these columns and creating this in stucco lucido. And creating a kind of a mesh separating the entrance of the spa. Then the rooms, because this is the shape of the hotel. That's one of the things that the client was like, this is already not a very canonic shape for a hotel, because check out the rooms. There's not one which is like the other. So it's a kind of a strange design. So this is the kind of our proposal for the guest rooms. And, many details, many things, how everything operates and so forth. And the kind of feeling that you want, lighting design, working very closely with lighting people. And then the apartments, how they're set, how they're laid out, the configurations, how they can split and change. And then very precise, the 3Ds, you have to do very precise, the exact chairs, the Superleggera, this and that, the one from Brazilian, whatever. And this kind of strange thing that Miley Peter, they're very, they are great architects, they're great intellectuals, great architects. And they didn't feel comfortable designing the building somehow. At least I don't know. They would say to us, please give us some idea how to make the facades. We don't know how to make facades. We are, it's not, please help us. So they asked us to design the facade somehow, so I don't know. But it was a kind of the attitude that they have is very interesting. So we were, devising systems of, and there's always these lighting systems. I don't know whether they're here, but in any case, now I come to this. So at the same time we lost this competition, we were mourning. I go to Riyadh and I get this opportunity that these clients asked us. They said it's a pity that you came 1 week before, because if you come before, we could get you this project for a tower. I said, but give me 2 weeks and I'll come back with a tower. And so we entered the competition to a 66-story tower in Riyadh, in Saudi Arabia. And basically we started from this premise. Let's design a kind of quintessential Miesian Manhattan or a Chicago skyscraper, because it's really difficult in the Middle East. And I mean, Ricardo is here and he knows exactly what I'm talking about, to do a building that doesn't refer to a metaphor. It's really difficult. If it's not a butterfly, if it's not a, if it's not a boat, a sail, I mean, you run out of metaphors. So to say that you want to do architecture is really scary. So we start from this idea, but fortunately, the client is really aggressive developer, moneymaker. So he's not into the kind of funky shapes. Thank God we didn't have to do a kind of rounded shape that's doing like that. So he accepted our premise to do this building, and he insisted very much on the idea of a kind of retail plaza, because there was some space. This is it's in the main avenue of Riyadh, and in the center of Riyadh it will be the third highest tower, because there's one by Foster, which is the one that has a kind of a golden bubble, and then there is one that it looks like a screw cap, that is the Kingdom Tower. So basically, this will be so here is a kind of sketch of idea, so that to make it a very simple volume, a very cubic volume, it's easy to negotiate the shapes and the floors, and then to play playfully with punching some spaces for private gardens or for public gardens also, public inside the building, let's put it this way. So we came up with this kind of design, but we knew that we needed to kind of create some sparkle,
to win the competition. Otherwise, they'd say, you know, it's a box. You know, it's a simple box. So that's this is the shape of the building. And for the retail plaza, we came up with this design, kind of suggestive of Burle-Marx curves. Of course, in Saudi Arabia, you cannot. There's very little room for green. I don't know, because the temperatures doesn't let you do a lot of green. So we thought that this could be a kind of colorful shaping and shading system. And here you see some kind of renderings of the tower. These are interiors, have no interest whatsoever. This was just to show. But there's something really that I think only in Saudi Arabia you will find something like this. Because they are so private about things that behind this tower, there is a residential quarter of villas. And they don't allow them to build any windows for this side. So this tower, 66-story tower, is completely mute on one of the sides. I mean, so that's why we don't have the stairs in the core. We had to push it to the back, and create a kind of a different design. So this is the rooftop image. I mean, this is kind of developer images. So this is we're creating here the roof, the how do you call this, the health club, because we wanted that all the people in the building could, have the opportunity to, even if they don't have one of the big apartments, that they could experience at least the effect of being in this height. I have to tell you this. I've never done a building of this height. And I'm concerned how people will feel with the wind at this height. I mean, if it's any comfort or not. I mean, in the renderings it looks nice, but in the wind tunnel, I don't know how it will be. But, I mean, there's a first time for everything, I suppose. So this is the plaza, and they confessed to me that this is what won. I knew that. I knew it. This is what won the project, actually. Because the plaza, it's happy and merry, everybody. So we created this, this kind of fantasy image with all this kind of this photographic image of the green, etc. So I mean, there's very little green here, but it still gets this feeling of freshness, because I don't know if you haven't had the chance to go to Riyadh. Hopefully not, but it's really a hellhole. It's hot, 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 and it's the cars, and there's pollution, and there's shouting and noise, and so they asked us to do a kind of oasis, something that would feel nice as you drive by. So hopefully it will be nice. So here you see a little bit the look and feel of how it is. And then for the office building, we try to make it something really non-descriptive. I mean, a building that, because they don't care about this office building. They just, so we created this very simple design that would be just basically a kind of a multi-story box, but they didn't go for it. They said, no, you have to redo the design of and then we have the kind of a metaphor. We had to do the metaphor. So here's the metaphor: is the apartment, the office building changed into this kind of more sexy curved shape. But it still is an insignificant building next to the other one, so it's just a kind of contextual design. So here it is, the design. I don't have here, I wanted to show you. We are doing something, but it's unfortunately, I don't see, it's lost. But we are also doing an interesting project that hopefully one day I'll bring you, which is the expansion of the city of Maputo, the capital of Mozambique. But I don't have it here, unfortunately. I thought I had it. I was going to close it with that, but having said that, thank you very much.
How big is your office now?
Now we are 52. We were like 75 before 2007. Then we crashed the company in 35. And now we are 52.
Right, because you mentioned it, but I mean, how did the sort of, you were very much a Portugal-based firm until 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And then you all of a sudden moved to a different country, expand your...
Where are you based now?
We produce everything in Lisbon. Everything is, we have 2 people in Doha, just making the bridge connection to, now we're going to have like 3, but our production is really in Lisbon. I mean, it's not, it's very convenient, you know. But, yeah, but I've never experienced anything in my life like that. We have 30% of invoicing outside of Portugal and 17% in Portugal. And in 1.5 years, it was reduced to 2%. So now we have 98% outside and 2% from Portugal. It's significant. Basically, we don't have, you go all across the office and you won't find a project in Portugal. And if you find it, I mean, it's a shop, it's a kiosk sometimes. We want to keep working there just for that. But so we have to restructure all this. So I think it's like anybody would do. I mean, we went to the Middle East. I went to Qatar, and I started to make interviews with different people. I had this shape, and they said they wanted us on board. And I said, yeah, okay, well, let's start, and so forth. I mean, it started like that, and now it becomes smarter with this. It's interesting, because now in Saudi Arabia, I didn't have to go to any shapes or anything. Just went straight to the money, so to speak. Just straight to the clients and said, look, I want to do this, I can show you this, we can bring you this. And you have to pay us in advance. And people, funny enough, people react positively to this kind of more proactive attitude. So it changed completely. I mean, it's interesting that an office had to make it such a, I mean, it's a very painful process, but it's been an interesting time, let's say. Really, really interesting. And it offered us things that we never imagined. For instance, just to give you an idea, this, I didn't show it here, but this shape is doing, he owns the Four Seasons in Cairo. And it has the construction of boats. And then the boat is a kind of entertainment boat. And so we ended up going to Four Seasons in Toronto, to the headquarters. And from there on, we started to design projects for Four Seasons. Because Four Seasons said, you know, you are interior designer, you're good interior design, come for us, we'll put you on our RFP. So in a way, I think it's been a lesson to us how, you know, how things change into a positive. Actually, I remember I was going down the line the other day, last year with my partner, and I told him, look, if I told you that you would be in a year's time designing a boat for Four Seasons for a Qatari sheikh in Egypt, would you believe it? No, I wouldn't, of course. So, in a way, it's funny how life takes you through these tough situations. And and also, I think for us a lesson has been that no project is per se kind of, there are good projects and bad projects. As I tell you, for instance, I love this little building in Angola. And I mean, it's quite insignificant in size, but it gives you immense hope. And so I think that our profession, we have to start to accept different conditions. One, I think, is that you have to be inclusive about all the projects. You cannot separate them. I mean, why not do a nice strip home? You can do a nice strip home. You can work with a conceptual artist and make something really nice, and you can do nice detailing, work with the graphic guys and do a kind of fantastic project. Why not? But you have to convince the developer. And that's the hard part, but it's also the fun part of it. And then it becomes a nice project. Why not? And if we start to separate things, it's I know that it's not us who do that as architects. It's the profession that does that too. It's the way the market is forcing it, and somehow we have to force it back. I don't know.
Just in terms of working so globally now, how do you contend with or understand the different construction cultures? You know, how things get built, the kind of, let's say, predominant construction types, and you know, what kind of companies are building. You know, how do you negotiate that, and get up to speed with that influence on the design process when you come into a new culture like that?
That's a real challenge for us. I mean, because as you see, many of the stuff you see is still ongoing. We go as we try to, and it's, you know what? I think that for American and English companies, the road is mostly paved, because they always say, refer back to American standard, this and this, refer back to the contracts, the AIA contract of this and that. So in a way, the road paved to you is like that. We have to learn from your side. So it's, we try to Anglophilize Americanize our production, and always saying that, do you say detailed design or you say detailed design? Do you do schematic or design development? What's the difference? That's the easy part for you. The way it's paved for you. For us, it's a learning
process. Yeah.
But I guess I would say this, because we find ourselves in some measure in emerging markets. You find that many people, they're also learning. And the learning curve is to their side too, because you get in a development company, you'll find an Australian guy, a New Zealand guy from India, an Italian guy, and nowadays probably a Spanish or a Portuguese guy. So there's who decides what standard are we going to use? The English will say, and the Indian will say, we'll use the British standard, and so the American will say, no, forget it, we'll use the American. So it's a kind of. But as you go along, you also understand that it's not like the world is fixed on one system. And I mean, the construction is a surprise. I mean, I'm curious to see how this skyscraper is coming out. They gave us 4 months to build the whole thing. It's a brutal timing. But the good thing is they already said that they have a one with 100 stories. Lined up. These guys, they do. Saudis, they do. I don't know. Qatar is that's another discussion.
Do you find with your Middle East projects that because the big AECOM and the big monster firms that can barely maneuver or slow to respond as designers, that it encourages more opportunistic designers to go and actually make form and to make decisions? I mean, that's what we found too, that it's been dominated by the enormous firms that, because the bureaucracies can't make a decision like that. You know, it requires too many meetings and too many, and so it's refreshing to have somebody come in and just say, we can design a building for you, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Is that do you think that's part of the advantage that you have?
I think so. You have to be agile.
Right.
For instance, this skyscraper, they asked Perkins and Wills, this company that belongs to that on NASA. So they asked Perkins and Wills, and they said, we don't have the time, we'll have to look into it, and so. And we said, look, give us 2 weeks. And we came with a professional model that they're going to exhibit in Cityscape. So we brought them on already. I spoke to this guy and said, look, you have to do me a professional model with backlight, everything, in 2 weeks, shipped in a box to Saudi. So it's the agility. Agility also. They say, yeah, we're okay. So, but it's challenging all the time.
You can't do that every week.
It's a lot of pressure, I think, because it adds the many factors that start to come in, like each of these clients is completely new. And if you go to the Middle East, one thing you'll find is that any guy you meet is the most important, is the richest man, is the most celebrated, is so every client is a new client. You know how, if it's going to pay you, if it's going to get paid, you don't even know the taste. Does he have a kind of a good management in place that has a decision-making process, or am I going to give him this and nothing happens? That often happens. I mean, you deliver this whole project, and so, and one day they wake up and say, bring this tomorrow. So that's an experience. But I think, nowadays, I think it's interesting if we proceed this way.
I would say I would go to Baku, I would go to various places, but we don't have the manpower, we have few. We have 5 partners, so we have such difficulty of spreading too much. But it's interesting that there's a, once you get out and once you have a kind of an attitude towards things, then there's a number of opportunities to, just show up. I want to tell you this is a story that I thought was kind of crazy. I went with my partner to Saudi Arabia and to Riyadh, and he's a very good guy with shopping centers. He has a feel for what's wrong, what's right. Exit should not be this way, this way. It's really sharp. So we went to see the 5 or 6 biggest ones. And then we came to the kingdom. Kingdom belongs to this Prince Al-Ali. He's the #1 Forbes richest man in the Middle East. And we went there and we looked at the building in the podium of the Kingdom Tower, and we said, look, we told our PR, call them up and tell them there are 2 world specialists on shopping centers here. They need to be received by the CEO. And so we insisted, and we were there in the end. We insisted. And I said, and they started to get upset. And I said, well, okay. So they looked at that point. We said, look, here we are. So we showed them a little bit of the project. We think you need a renovation of this shopping center. It's 7 years old. I mean, it belongs to Prince Al-Ali. So you're going to have like the 2nd or 3rd or 4th of the shopping center. You really need a renovation on this. And I said, you're right, you know that. But we don't want to do that. What we want you to do is the fine dining building on the podium of the Kingdom Tower. And a week afterwards, I had a contract signed. I'm grateful to design this building. And 2 weeks afterwards, I met the prince. So this is, it's interesting. It's such a Saudi is such a close place. Once you get in, it's also easy somehow. Because people, if you enter the castle walls, it's sort of easy to maneuver around.
They were looking for it.
Yeah, so I think that's it's kind of a interesting.
The only downside is you have to go to Riyadh a lot.
Wow.
That's not easy. I tell you. Yeah, it is difficult. Jeddah is a bit better.
No stupid question. Come on.
Are you hiring? They don't know.
Yeah, well, of course. You have to send me your CV.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Paul.